So welcome to my August wrap-up. I read approximately 12 books. It would have been 13, I think, if I had finished the second Throne of Glass book, but I'm still in the process of getting through it. So next week's video is going to be super duper special, so be sure to, come back for that. Hint, hint. The most recent book that I finished was Rot in Ruin, and this is a zombie book. It's not super action-packed. There's obviously action in it, but it's much more about the characterization of the characters, the bond both characters who are brothers have with each other. The main character is Benny, and he's a 14-year-old, so it's kind of a coming-of-age story that takes place in a zombie apocalypse. It sounds a little bit crazy. I think the easiest way to describe this is like the slow episodes of Walking Dead. Anyone who's watched Walking Dead, you know that some episodes, there's just not a lot that happens, but there's a lot of dialogue, there's a lot of like character relationships and dynamics that take place. So if you're into that kind of thing, I would recommend this book. I know some people would definitely find it boring if that's not something they're into. Next book I finished was Dangerous Girls by Abigail. This book was crazy. As I said, I think when I hauled it, this book is about a girl who is accused of murdering her best friend in Aruba, and it's kind of very similar to the Amanda Knox case that took place in Italy. And it has a twist at the end that I think people will either love it or absolutely hate it. But it is a fun book, so I would give this 4 stars. Next up is The Unbecoming of Dyer. I would give this 3.5 stars. Didn't really like it. I think I talked about that in the haul where I hauled this. It's okay. I think it had a lot of potential. It's part of a trilogy. And I don't know if I'll be reading the second and third book. I've heard better things about the second book at least, but I just wasn't a fan. I was really disappointed with the way the book turned out because it had a lot of potential. It's kind of mysterious. This girl gets in an accident and her friends die. I don't remember if all of them die. Yeah, I'm sure all of them die. And she's the only survivor, and then weird things start happening, and she might have these abilities. I don't know. It was a weird book. I didn't like it. Next book is Lola and the Boy Next Door by Stephanie Perkins. I loved it. I would give this 4.5 stars. I found Lola very relatable. Lola is in a relationship with a guy who's older than her by a few years, I think. His name's Max. And then a boy from her past comes back and moves to the house next door, boy next door. I thought it was great. I thought it was fun and sweet love story. Next is Throne of Glass. I absolutely loved it. I am so glad I read it. I'm so glad I finally listened. I had this for a while and I didn't want to, and I had this for a while and I just wasn't picking it up to read it, but it was amazing. 5 stars out of 5. Absolutely loved the writing of it. I love the character. Basically, she's in this competition with other assassins who are trying to compete to win this position as the king's assassin. She's just trying to win so that she can have her freedom. And there's a lot more to the story. It's very intricate, but I absolutely loved it. And I'm in the process, as I said, of reading the second one. The next one is Between Shades of Grey. I loved it. It was such a beautiful and sad but amazing book. I love the author's note at the end. I would recommend reading it. I think the inside is also really beautiful. And you kind of get, at some point, and there's a map of her journey. It's a really beautiful book, and I highly recommend it. And I love the authors. As I said, I loved how the author kind of explains how she kind of made this story and the true testimony that she got from people who survived this. So, highly recommend it. Next book is Opposition. I don't have it with me since it's an ebook. Amazing. 5 stars out of 5. I already did a 3-minute review for this that is spoiler-free. Highly recommend it. It's the last book of the Lux series, and it's amazing. I thought I hadn't read this, but I actually did. I just didn't remember anything. I was like reading it for the first time all over again. I thought it was wonderful. I thought it was great. I know some people describe it as a fluffy contemporary, but I feel like it's a little bit more than that. I mean, obviously it's a contemporary, but I thought the book kind of raised some serious questions in a subtle way about privilege and about stereotypes and generalizations and misconceptions when you assume someone's life is absolutely perfect just based on the way it appears on the outside. So I actually really love this book, and I'd give it 5 stars out of 5. Next one is Ketchup Clouds. I did a review for this, and then I accidentally deleted all of the footage, so I'll probably have to refilm it. It's about this girl who lives in the UK, and she was part of this incident where someone died, and you're not told what the incident is for a lot of the book. Like, you're just getting little bits and pieces here and there, but she's filled with guilt, and she starts writing to this guy who's in Texas, and he's on death row, so he's going to be executed soon. And she writes these letters to her because she's so filled with guilt, and she feels like this murderer will sort of understand her. Really, really beautiful book, really heartbreaking and sad. I don't know how I felt about the love triangle in this book, but like, I'll do a review for this. But I would still highly recommend reading it. 4.5 stars. It's a very unique premise. Next book is The Fever. I did a 3-minute review for this one, and spoiler free as well. I was kind of disappointed with this, so I'd give it 3.5 stars. The girl in this book, Denny, her best friends, or one of her best friends has kind of a seizure or some kind of illness in the middle of class, and it causes this hysteria and panic in the small town, and then other girls start getting sick as well, and it's kind of like this mysterious thing where no one knows what's going on. I thought the book was too repetitive, so 3.5 stars for it. Next is Don't Look Back by Jennifer L. Armentrout. I love the author, and I love the way this book's written. So it's basically about another girl, I forget these characters' names, who she's in an accident with her best friend. Her best friend remains missing. She comes back after having disappeared for a while, not knowing or remembering anything, and she finds out that she wasn't a good person. She was kind of mean. She was like the popular mean girl, you know, pretty typical stuff here. I thought it was a nice like little mystery thriller type of thing, but nothing really special. I kind of forgot all about it once I was done with it, and I was kind of like, wait, what book is this? So I would give it 4 stars because it's pretty good, but you know, nothing that I would go out of my way to recommend to people. Next is Ugly Love by Holly Hoover, who I love as an author, and I think she writes really well, and this book is no exception. It's written really well, but I didn't like the female protagonist. I felt like she just allowed this guy to walk all over her, and I get that he's damaged. I get that, you know, he's been through some rough stuff. This book is told in 2 perspectives, so one chapter will be her, the next chapter will be the guy, whose name is Miles. It's adult fiction. There's a lot of sex in this book. They basically have like a hookup, friends with benefits type of relationship, but for some reason this book didn't sit well with me. I just didn't like the way she acted. I thought there were instances where Miles was so not offensive, but when he did certain things that I don't think she should have just taken and just accepted and been like, fine. It's like, I don't know. I can't say anything without spoiling it. So I would give this probably 3 stars. So that's it for my wrap up. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.